Hi, everybody. So this time I have with me Pavel. I mean, he will obviously, as I always say, pronounce his name himself because I would make ridiculous mistakes and therefore I'm going to avoid them. So we're here. He's a company owner. He's actually Russian, but as far as I know, has been living in Portugal now for a long time. And I'd love to know more about his story. So I'll just ask you to tell me a little bit about yourself and when you went to university and all those things. We already talked about it some other day about this. So I know that it's a pretty interesting ride. So if you could tell us a little bit of those early days and how we came to this present situation.
Hello, Rita. Thank you for your invitation to take part in your podcast. It's always a pleasure to talk with you. So, uh, my name is Pavel Elin. I was born in Russia, and my story, my path in the language industry actually started at school because at school we had a special course of technical translations, and I was one of those students who decided to learn this to attend that lessons, and I even received a sort of a certificate after school that I am a second grade translator. Nobody knows what does it mean, but at least it was the base. But actually, it is my mother who should be blamed for my 16 years in the industry. I was a second year student at the Linguistic University. I studied languages, and during the daytime and during in the evening, during nighttime, I worked as a taxi driver, and I was looking for a job, for a job that I can that would allow me to continue my studies, but to earn more and in more convenient environment. So one day I saw short advert about published by a local translation agency. They needed a translator from English into Russian, and I told my mother about it, and she said, "Okay, you should call them. You should ask them. Maybe they can." Maybe you can do some translations for them. I was 100% sure that they said no because I did not have a diploma. I did not finish my studies by that time, but I decided to give it a try. And I'm grateful for this chance because they accepted my CV. They allowed me to try, and actually I called them in the morning, and by the end of the day, I got my first translation project.
Wow.
When yeah, it was at first it was challenging. I remember how it was difficult to translate those 2 pages, but step by step I got into that and started cooperation with other clients. Then when I completed my studies at the university, I started my first business with my ex-group mate. We established a local translation agency, and we were
In Russia.
yes, we were the first in the city who provided translations from and into more than 25 languages. It was absolutely different from other LCPs presented in the city. So we worked hard to find as many translators as possible, and we should remember that it was 2010 when internet and other communication technologies were not so developed as today.
In
So
Russia, I suppose, because here I guess it was already the same.
yes. Sometimes we delivered translations, or we deliver translations to freelance translator on paper, and because, for example, a good translator did not have a good access to the internet, and it was
So you
more
translated a lot of documents, right? Personal
yeah,
documents, things like that.
yes, more challenging than maybe more challenging than today. And as you said, in 2011, I moved to Portugal and became CEO and co-owner of Freelanguage LDA. Since then, I have been living here in Lisbon. I really like Portugal. No, I love Portugal and everything. When I hear some words, some criticism about Portugal, I I want I don't know what I want to do, but I always say stop because Portugal is a wonderful country to live and to work.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2019, almost, yes, 4 years ago, it was June or July, I attended an interesting workshop in Lisbon about LinkedIn. Before that workshop, I used LinkedIn once in 3 or 4 months, but after that workshop, I got an idea why not to transform my LinkedIn page into a blog for freelance translators, interpreters, language professionals, because I really had something to share, some advice, recommendations from the point of view of their potential client, uh, to try to share another point of view. It's always good to have such possibility. So I started my regular publications, posts, some content, and I also, as for today, I also offer for consulting services for freelance language professionals, such as individual consultations, CV reviews, professional profile reviews. I also, one of the services is intended to help in the development of LinkedIn pages to gain more engagement, to find more followers, and actually to find more clients via LinkedIn, on LinkedIn. Finally, in 2020, I wrote my book about email marketing in our industry. It is available on Amazon, and I am proud
Of course.
for that work, because as a CEO of a translation agency, I keep receiving emails from freelance translators and interpreters, and each time I see the same mistakes or some things that can be improved, and I decided to write a book about it, and I did it, and I actually, after more than 3 years, after publication, I received a lot of positive feedback from our colleagues. And last year, I joined Freelanly.com team. It is a platform for freelancers that it's not another portal where clients can publish some information about their projects and needs for language services. Freelanly.com is a tool that aggregates information about translation jobs, assignments from various sources on the web, and put it into one feed, and each user can adjust this, set up accounts in a way that allows to see only projects and jobs that correspond to working languages, specialization, and some additional parameters. So this is my path in the industry, and today I am glad that I want to believe that my contribution to this our professional community help some of our colleagues to reach better results, and to that my advice and recommendations are truly helpful.
So going a little bit back to the transition between the times in Russia and the times in Portugal, how different was it to establish a company or a translation agency back then in Russia? And then how was it to establish your business in Portugal?
Of course, the situations were different because
Yes.
yes, the situations were different. In terms of making business, it was harder in Russia because of various laws, restrictions, regulations, and so on. However, there in Russia, we understood who were our customers. That mainly those days, there people, even companies and people, mainly translated documents. I mean, personal documents or some other business documents, and we focused on that group. When I arrived to Portugal, it was hard. I made a number of mistakes. If I I know today I see that some things, and actually a lot of things, could be done in another way. And I needed approximately 6 months or half a year to start understanding how things were going here. So, but it was both experiences were interested and were interesting and encouraging. So,
But was it in terms of finding the clients? Was it the setup of the company? Because I guess the laws in Portugal are probably more flexible in terms of setting up the company
yes.
itself. But then when you're in the real world already with your company, so how was that process of actually finding the first few clients that would then lead you to what you have these days?
As you know, no business can exist without customers.
Yes.
And it was the first challenge to find uh, first clients because they when I started my first business in Russia, we said we have 25 languages, and it was something special because usually those days local translation agencies offered 5 languages maximum, and we said we have 25, and it attracted attention of some customers, even authorities, even some state bodies, because they needed translations from for example, from some Eastern European languages, and we had people who could do that. Here, the competition, here in Portugal, not only in Portugal, because we work with customers from all over Europe and from North America. Those days they already had vendors who offered them many languages. Those days we needed some time to prove that we really could provide quality translations, and it's maybe it is easier to when for example, a company exists for a couple of years, but when you just started, you should really work hard to prove that.
Did you start by offering all of those, the same languages, the same groups of languages, the same families of languages, the same number of languages that you used to offer to your clients in Russia, or did you have to adjust also that? I suppose you have to, right?
Yes, of course, because of course I started with those languages because I knew
and those
more.
are the Eastern European.
Yes, but actually, naturally, the demand for Eastern European languages, for example, in Portugal, was lower than for Western European languages. So of course, I needed to focus on other languages, and I needed to focus on my clients' needs because, um, for example, there was one company who needed translations from Portuguese into Chinese, or from Chinese into Portuguese. And speaking of languages, the difference was as follows. When we worked in Russia, most of the translations were from one language into Russian, or from Russian into another
Right.
language. And here I needed to learn how to work with other language combinations, not only from Portuguese or into Portuguese. And I, 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 I don't remember, but I think the very first project was from Spanish into Norwegian or something like that.
Wow.
And it was something new for me because I needed to learn how to work with freelancers who maybe sometimes do not even speak English at all. How to arrange the cooperation, how to arrange the communication.
Yeah.
It was different because the variety of language combinations here was at least much more extended than in Russia.
So you immediately started offering like not so typical combinations within the European context.
My goal was to, I think we should be adaptive, especially small translation agencies, especially those who make the first steps in the business. And I tried my best to communicate with potential clients to find out their needs. And for example, after a call, after some communication, I've started searching for those vendors, for those freelancers who could help with their needs. So the actual list of languages and language combinations was formed by clients because after one or two successful projects, a customer returned with a new request. Or after we did a good translation from Spanish into Norwegian, they came back with another translation from Spanish into Finnish. So if it is so, we need to focus on searching for professional translators, proven translators from Spanish into Finnish. And I think that the offer actually depends on customers' needs.
So these days on your website, for example, do you advertise like a set of main languages and then you leave a note saying, and if you need other combinations, let us know, right? Something like that. So how many languages do you usually work with on a regular basis? Like, is it a huge amount of languages? Do you focus on a group?
Today we offer 55 languages,
Ooh.
but of course, I think that there are something around 10 core languages. Maybe 12. But from time to time, even today, we have very extraordinary requests from our customers, and we always do our best to arrange translations for them. And I think that there was a period of maybe a couple of years when I observed the growing demand for Eastern European languages. And again, it was challenging because we needed to arrange translations and various language services, for instance, from Portuguese into Czech or Macedonian. And it was challenging because actually there are not so many translators from Portuguese into Macedonian. But again, there are many people, many professionals. You just need to search for them. And my activity on LinkedIn, on this social platform, also helps me to find absolutely great language professionals. We cooperated with one person who was Spanish, who speaks German, and also 8 Eastern European languages.
Wow.
At first, I did not believe, but when I started receiving absolutely fantastic feedback from our customers who were native speakers of that languages, those languages. I was I was I was really happy that I found.
Mm-hmm. What about in terms of verticals, what we call in the industry verticals? So the subjects that you work uh, the most for. So the kind of companies, is there a group of subjects? Do you do more legal? Do you do more personal documents? Do you do more technical? Is there a group of subjects or verticals that you specialize in, or are you like able to just have an open?
We from the beginning, I understood that there are some subject fields where it is not impossible, but um, the whole agency should be focused on some topics like medicine, from pharmaceutics, and some other things. So we always focus on legal translations, technical translations, and let's say so-called business translations. I think that this category includes also marketing, website translations, localization, and so on. So, and speaking of personal documents, yes, sometimes, of course, we translate personal documents, but I think it's something between something close to legal field.
Okay. So do you feel like the growth of a variety of new nationalities coming to Portugal has impacted your business in terms of the type of documents that you work with, or do you have your customers in such a way that you didn't really feel that change in Portugal specifically?
You know, it is a very interesting question because, as I said, we work with clients from all over Europe and from the USA and some from some Asian countries too. So the share of Portuguese clients isn't very big. What I observed and what I was happy to know that when these years a lot of people came to live to Portugal, we are able to establish more and more connections with other linguists, with language professionals.
That makes sense.
Because at the beginning of my work here in Portugal, sometimes it was easier to find a translator from or into Portuguese living abroad. And today there are again great language professionals who decided to move to Portugal, and the variety of them grows each year.
So basically, the impact was in your pool of people that you work with, and
Yes,
not
yes.
necessarily the customers. Because these days, I can imagine, for example, I can think of Romanian. I imagine that you can find these days people who work from Portuguese into Romanian and actually live in Portugal or have lived in Portugal. Things, or Ukrainian. Not even talking about Ukrainian because that's too obvious.
A real life example. When we had, it was always easier to find a translator from Italian into Portuguese in Italy. Today, it's vice versa. There are a lot of Italian translators living here, and yes, I think the main change is in the possibility to work with more people located here in Portugal.
So you told me already that you have, and it's true because I've seen it, a great presence on LinkedIn and all of that, right? So it's probably part of your also vendor management strategy. And I say vendor management because everybody knows that I'm interested in that subject. So it's part of your strategy to also be present and to also allow translators to come to you with their offers and with what they do. And so,
of course,
you probably don't have to look that far these days to find your human resources, right? So how do you go about that? Do you just search the profiles? Do you, when you need a new language pair, or if you have a new subject that you need to offer to an existing client, how do you go about looking for your people?
Of course, our team use various approaches, but as for me, I always prefer to contact people individually. We today, for example, we use Freelanly.com to find language professionals. But yes, LinkedIn gives some great opportunities to find the right person and to communicate with this person individually. Why I like this approach more? Because if we speak about some popular platforms and professional portals for language professionals, when a company, an LSP, publishes a project, you receive a lot of, a lot of offers from people who pretend to be freelancers, or people, yes, from various agencies that even that it's if we work with freelancers, we work with freelancers. We rarely make exceptions, only for some difficult language combinations. But when you publish a project and you receive 11 or no, or even 100 offers from Bangladesh or from India, Indian companies, it's you need to spend a lot of time checking all of them. I do not want to say that a company in Bangladesh or India cannot provide translations from English into German. But if we work with freelancers and if we clearly state that we need to find a freelance language professional, we want to find freelance language professional. We do not want to work with a company. That's the point. On LinkedIn, you can check the profiles. You can even before spending people's time on any communication, you can have an idea about specialization, about working languages, about experience, and then you can easily start communication with a person. And you can be more specific because you know that this or that person is the right choice for this or that project. So yes, I think in terms of freelance business development, LinkedIn is a great tool.
So there's the inevitable question of your view on you're in one of the best positions of the people I usually have to give me an overview on what you think the present, because the future of our industry is like very dependent on the present. So how do you see things evolving right now in comparing, for example, on the situation 3 or 4 years ago, and what's happening now and how it's going to develop from here on? How do you see that with all the chat GTP situation and artificial intelligence? And do you feel like there's always going to be a place for small agencies? Do you feel like not everybody is going to just succumb to the big company situations? How's it going to go from your point of view?
In my opinion, there are always two groups of clients. First group, the customers of the first group, they always want to find a cheaper solution. And of course, such new technologies that help to reduce the cost of translation services will already has an impact on our industry. Because if a client wants to have something cheaper, they would use such a customer will always use some cheaper solutions. At that, there are also customers in the second group who really need quality, who are ready to invest their money and even some other resources into quality of their content, into quality of their translations. And I do believe that for them, an ability to work with human translators is much more important than the ability to save some money on translation costs. Moreover, I am always surprised why machine translations are so popular. Why? Because yes, the biggest advantage is the possibility to translate a big volume of words within hours or days. Yes, it's not possible to. It is harder to arrange translations of big volumes of text within the same time frame. But as for me, not so many customers actually need some translations so quickly. Yes, there are situations. Yes, even when big prominent companies need to have 100 pages translated by the end of the day. Yes, there are such situations. But I do not think that the share of such situations is as big as, for example, providers of machine translation technologies would like to show us.
Mm-hmm.
It is the first point. And the second point that I cannot actually understand, even those companies, even those businesses that translate a lot of content or need to translate a lot of documents, product descriptions, and so on. Anyway, the share of expenses, the share of money spent on translations and language services is neglectable.
Mm-hmm.
If, let's say, if a company has a turnover of $50 million or euros per year, they are not going. I think I know it. They are not going to worry about spending 100,000 euros on translations and language services. With I don't think that. I think that machine translations and all these technologies are more popular among companies who need to make something faster. For example, a company sells some products on various marketplaces, and their business success depends on an ability to publish, let's say, as more product descriptions as possible. Yes, maybe, but they are not. They do not worry about the quality of the text.
Mm-hmm.
Because they need to sell these products today, and tomorrow they are going to sell another product.
Yeah.
And this is my point of view. So I want to believe that the share of customers who value quality and who value humans' work will remain either the same or will not reduce that much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like your perspective of things because it totally makes sense that you have that distinction between what customers really want and what they really need. And I think you're absolutely right in saying that not everybody needs massive volumes of text translated from one day to the other. So I guess it totally makes sense, right?
I can, from my point of view, I can say that for me, I can compare it with the following: you have a flat and you want to rent it, so you need to renovate it a little bit. But if you if you are going to live in this flat by yourself, you want to create your cozy home, you will spend more time on design, on materials, or you will try to find people with great skills, and so it's something like this.
Mm-hmm. So if it's closer to your heart, you want it
Yes, yes,
better and with
yes,
a lot more of a human presence.
yes. If a brand invests money in the development, I think they would prefer to have professional human translations than to save just a little bit on using machine translations or artificial intelligence solutions.
Sounds good. What about speaking about personal? So, what are your personal, professional, obviously, projects at the moment that you're working on, and what does your daily life look like in terms of work?
I try to divide my daily routine to several parts. Uh, I won't hide one fact. I really like writing,
Mm-hmm.
and I also work on some maybe publications, bigger publications than a post for autumn or after all holidays. Maybe I will be able to complete some of my writing projects in
You
August.
mean articles for?
Yes, articles and so on.
Mm.
Then, of course, I cannot avoid spending time on the main business on Freelanguage because I am involved in all processes, and I am involved in production, in administration, in customer relations. So yes, it takes time, and Of course, and one more part, one more direction of my work, as I said, is working with Freelanly team on developing their tool, not only on developing their tool as it is, but on also adding value to the services, to this solution, to this platform. We have some plans on creating some content, some tools, webinars, and some other events for freelance language professionals. So every day I'm trying to find the balance between all of these directions, and at least to have some time for myself. I mean, for working on some things that are interesting for me. Maybe. As I said, for example, writing or working on some content.
So are you working on another book?
Who knows?
Or is it a secret? You are, right?
No, the problem is that, as I said, I
You
like
don't have the time.
I did not plan to write a book 3 years ago. I thought it's going to be a brochure or a leaflet, something small, but I could not stop. And
so why should all freelancers or freelance translators have your book? What's in there that is specifically catering to needs that were present then and are still present now? Because I want to leave a link to all of your things and your portals and all of your things down here. So I guess it would be on YouTube, on the YouTube version. So I guess it would be very beneficial for us to know exactly what can be found in the book.
as I said, I analyzed some typical errors and mistakes. It is the first benefit of the book. The second point, I offer some solutions how to avoid such mistakes or how to improve the whole email marketing as a process, and how to improve emails, and provide a lot of examples, real life examples of how to do this or that. And the third point that I consider one of the most important, I also, in that book, I also offer, I suggest a strategy of reaching clients via email. Because I know that there are a lot of advisors who say email marketing is outdated and so on, but not in our market. Still, we communicate a lot via emails. We use emails in our every day. So why not to benefit from it? And it's cheaper, it's easier, and you just need to have an internet access to start using it. So yes, I believe that my book helps to avoid mistakes. It allows to improve the whole process. And the third point, after reading the book, I think a person has a strategy, and absolutely every person, absolutely every translator or interpreter can start using it right now, right today.
Yeah, so that sounds like a plan. So we will leave all the information once we have our conversation published. Pavel, thank you so much for this. This was great. I love talking to people who are in the translation business from the business side, which is a pretty rare for until now on my podcast, but I'm definitely trying to get that a bit more present in my activities, because it's something that really interests me. And I really thank you for being here. It was great to know how you work and what your expectations are and how much you have to contribute to the community. And we will continue to follow you on LinkedIn.
Thank you, Rita. I really enjoyed, I really enjoyed talking with you. It's not our first talk.
It's not our first rodeo.
and I do hope it's not going to be the last one. So let's stay in touch. Thank you for your invitation to participate in your podcast. And I will be happy to be here again with some other topics, and discuss some other matters connected with our professional community.
Yes, we will. Thank you so much for this, and have a great day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.